Everyone thought he was a delinquent, but he was secretly a nerd who was captured by the craziest girl in school and forced to join her school club. It all began when Kenji Kazama arrived for his first day in school with two of his friends who were part of his gang known as the Kazama Gang. As soon as they walked through the corridor, they were identified by two other students who run away out of fear of their reputation. Kenji was hoping for a clean start, thinking that their past wouldn't follow them here. The little one in the group named Yokoshima suggested that maybe they can soften their image by joining a group which will make them appear more friendly. Kenji, however, had a change of heart and proclaimed to conquer the school with violence. Meanwhile, in the Game Creation Club, the members were having a discussion about how their club will be dissolved by the school if they cannot find another member to join by the end of the day. They can't afford to lose this club because they use it to play games and as an excuse to hang out in school. After their meeting was done, 3 of them were playing pretend and happened to set a corner of the room on fire. Fortunately for them, Kenji and his 2 friends were just outside and came to extinguish the fire when they saw the smoke from the corridor. As soon as he entered, the president of the club named Roka recognized him from earlier on in the day when she was handing out flyers. Kenji put out the fire after Roka told him that it was only an illusion. They all celebrated when the flames was extinguished. Kenji was wondering how they even managed to start the fire, but as he looked up, one of the females tased Yokoshima, while the other was choking Nagayama with water. Kenji was freaking out and wanted to know what was going on. He finally understood they were crazy people who were playing pretend when they said that they couldn't allow their powers to be leaked to the outside world. Their only option was to apprehend the boys and erase their memory. As his friends laid there unconscious, they grabbed Kenji and Roka attempted to erase his memory, but it didn't work, so she became sad. Another person of the club named Chitose entered and introduced herself to him with a punch to the face, which put Kenji on his backside. He knew this situation wasn't good when they talked about combining their attacks to incapacitate him. And although Kenji wanted to save his friends, he made a run for it, promising to come back and save them. They chased him, but he escaped into the yard, glad he was away from those crazy girls. But when he turned around, Roka was there in front of him, so he freaked out. The girl thanked him for rescuing them from the fire and for picking up her flyers off the floor earlier on in the day. He told her it was no problem and turned to leave. But Roka wanted him to join her club, and when he refused to join, she karate chopped him in the neck, which knocked him out. He was taken back to their place, and they tied and bagged him like they were in the cartel. As he cried and begged for his life, he caved in and told them that he would join the club. Before freeing him, the club members introduced themselves, and we learned that the pink-haired girl is called Sakura, and the one who tased Yokoshima was actually a teacher. They removed his bondage and asked him to fill in the form. His plan was to do what they say for now. However, he was going to intercept the form before it could be delivered to a teacher. At this point, he didn't know one of them was a teacher named Miss Usawa. So after she verified his enrollment, he took the form from her and made a run for it. Sakura, who isn't so useless, caught up to him quickly, but her useless ass forgot the water bottle, so she went back to get it. Meanwhile, Roka was in front blocking his path and erased his vision by encasing the whole place in black curtains. Although he couldn't see, he still tried to escape, but found himself falling out of the window to almost being isekai'd. Roka managed to save him and pulled him up with the help of the other ladies. Kenji showed his appreciation by joining the club willingly. He later narrated the entire story to his friends, but they had no idea what he was talking about. They didn't even have any memory of being attacked by the crazy ladies. A friend of theirs named Ataru came running in with concern after learning that Kenji had joined the club. He came to warn the guy about Chitose, who is actually the president of the student council. Ataru knows about her crazy antics because he is the vice president. It turns out Chitose is too powerful and even had 3 fierce school gangs go into hiding. Chitose overheard them talking from the top floor of the girls' locker room. She tried to label them as perverted and accused them of wanting to peep at them, which made no sense because the boys were 2 floors below. She attempted to use her spit to drive them away, but Ataru the creep wanted to catch it in his mouth. So she changed her mind and got a locker to throw at them. Kenji made a run for it, but Ataru wanted to stand his ground. He got support from the other 2 who stood on each other's shoulders to reach the top floor and began pushing against her. They were about to lose due to fatigue, but Kenji joined in and helped kick the locker back inside. Him and Ataru accidentally ended up inside the changing room of the girls and got suspended. Meanwhile, Roka and the members threw a celebration party now that their little club wasn't getting disbanded. They talked about Kenji and roasted him for getting suspended. They even gave him a new name and called the guy Foot Freak. Elsewhere, Kenji is out in the park petting a cat and feeling sorry for himself for getting kicked out the school for something he didn't do. The cat suddenly ran away, which got the guy confused, So he looked back and saw a masked, creepy group behind which made him run away faster than the cat. They attempted to disorientate him by spinning around him, but they gave up when one of them became dizzy. Kenji just looked at them thinking who these incompetent losers were. The guy got vexed with their stupidity and ordered them to lose the masks. The leader named Takao complied and revealed herself to be the leader of the game creation club, which got Kenji confused. She informed him that the group he recently joined are the TikTok shop version of the real club. Kenji was devastated that he got scammed harder than a crypto rug pull, so he started crying. Takao advised him to quit, meaning that the fake club will get shut down. He told them to leave him alone when they insisted that he leave the club. He tried to go on his way, but they wouldn't allow him to. He decided to punch his way through them, but since the leader was a girl, he didn't believe in equal rights and lefts. However, one of them looked like a boy, and he went over to attack him, but the guide pretended to be a girl when he revealed himself wearing a girl's uniform, so Kenji let him be. The fear in them was so much that 3 out of the 4 were unable to move, giving Kenji the chance to walk past them. However, there was one more member and no way this was a girl. This boy was a fully grown man. Nevertheless, he removed his mask and pretended to be a girl, but Kenji wasn't falling for it and punched him. He was now free to go, but Takao stood in his way and threatened to call the police and get him arrested by telling a lie on him. As they argued about the unethical nature in Takao's threat, the police arrived at the scene and told them that locals had called to complain about a bunch of weird people in robes attacking others. Since the knocked-out big guy was the only one who was still in a robe, the police arrested him after all of them threw the big guy under the bus, saying they didn't know who he was. Kenji later made his way to school thanks to his short suspension. He arrived at the club room and saw them playing pretend, which freaked him out because they tried to get him involved in their weird behavior. He turned around to leave, but Roka stopped him from leaving. They sat down to have a meeting about what they will be doing for the upcoming culture festival. Kenji remembered his encounter with that strange group, and just as he was about to tell them about it, Takao busted into their room to cause a scene. And boy did she cause a scene because she got attacked by Chitose and Sakura. When Roka went over to find out if she was okay, Takao slapped her hand away and called the girl a traitor before running away crying and promising to shut them down. Roka followed her to see if she was okay. Chitose told Kenji that they have 2 game creation clubs because Roka broke off from the original one and made her own after they thought she was strange. It was actually Chitose who caused all of this because when she heard that they were giving Roka the cold shoulder, she decided to bury them in sand, so they completely avoided Roka. The little blonde didn't know this, so she blamed herself and created her new club thanks to the suggestion of Chitose, who just wanted to see her friend happy again. After hearing that story, Kenji went over to help resolve the issue between the 2 old friends. He explained to Takao that all the girl wanted to do was apologize for leaving, but that wasn't the issue because Takao felt like Roka didn't have to leave because it wasn't her fault that there was an issue. She was upset that Roka left her alone and created a new club. Takao was still mad about it and suggested that they compete against each other for the upcoming festival. If Roka's team loses, all of the members in the fake club will have to join the real game creation club. Kenji advised her to accept the challenge so that all of this can be resolved once and for all. They both returned to their respective clubs, and Roka told the rest what was agreed on. The day of the festival was drawing close. Chitose suggested that they cheat to win since they don't stand a single chance. Kenji wasn't on board and was disappointed that even the teacher backed up the idea to sabotage the other group. Kenji soon learned that his club know nothing about building games. All they know how to do is chill and play. Chitose came up with an idea that whoever loses on a game they are about to play will have to go and spy on the other team. Kenji lost, so he had to do the dirty work, but Roka tagged along. They weren't even 2 seconds into their spy mission, and they got caught by Takao, who called them out on their BS. She felt so confident that she invited only Kenji inside to take a look on what they were working on. Roka was rejected on the doorstep. Kenji entered and apologized to the big guy for knocking him clean out the first time they met. Takao got to it and was showing Kenji how they make games. Roka, who was still standing outside, ran in and pushed Takao in the back, so Kenji turned around to see what was going on and was accidentally hit in the face by Takao's chest. She got embarrassed and gave him a heavy slap that put Will Smith to shame. She then kicked Roka out and asked Kenji to just join her club already since his team is obviously going to lose. He remembered how much the club meant to Roka, so he rejected the offer, which offended Takao. She told him that whoever gets the most customers on the day will be the victor. Kenji left their room declaring war. He and Roka returned to their team, and she presented a not safe for work board game Kenji thought was a terrible idea. The day finally arrived. The 2 clubs stood in front of each other, and the tension was visible. The rules of the competition were finalized, so they both went on their way to get as many customers as they could. Kenji went to see what their competition was cooking, and he wasn't that impressed. He invited Takao to come and see what they have, and she was stunned by the number of customers they had. Roka's team built some type of theme park full of several games. Their idea was that if people are having fun, that's all that matters. Takao was upset by their unoriginal games and began to cry, so Chitose comforted her. She apologized, saying she had no intention of destroying her club back then, and all she wanted to do was help Roka, who didn't want to lose her club. Takao understood, so she went to have a word with Roka and conceded defeat. The little blondie stopped Takao from leaving and said that although she cannot leave her club, she would still want to be friends. She even suggested for Takao to leave her club and join hers instead, which the girl found to be an insult, so she hit Roka on the head. The day came to a close and Roka thanked Kenji for helping her by joining her club. After the competition, Takao made her way over to the Fake Club and saw their new sign addressing themselves as the Real Game Creation Club, so she ripped it off. She joined them to make sure they came up with a suitable name that wouldn't affect the original club in a negative way. She objected to all the suggestions apart from Kenji's, even though his club members grilled him for it, so they agreed to call it Game Creation Club Number 2. The teacher cut in and told them that this name wouldn't work because the club already has an official name registered inside the books. The school had the club under the name Game Creation Club Provisional, which they all hated, apart from Takao, who loved it and run away making fun of them for having such a lame name. But she felt bad and came back to apologize, which Kenji found adorable. And as he commented on it, Roka gave him the death stare out of jealousy, it seems, and attacked him. The following day, as Kenji made his way to school with his friends, they got into trouble with the band of 14 devils when Kenji stupidly called them out for walking shoulder to shoulder. Ataru the creep came out of nowhere, warning him not to engage with them because they are the most dangerous in the school. They got their cool name by hogging all the rhythm games at the local arcade and not even allowing kids to play. Kenji and his friends ended up getting into a fight with them, and Ataru went over to his club to report what happened. The ladies had captured Takao and forced her to play their board game, which needed 4 people to play. Although Roka didn't want to get involved in his beef, Takao convinced her and the others to go save their club member. Meanwhile, Kenji was also tied up along with his friends in some warehouse somewhere. He didn't go down easily since he managed to take out 3 of them. They went through his stuff and saw the not safe for work board game Roka had put inside his bag. The devil group began to argue amongst themselves to determine who will play first, since the game could only accommodate 4 people at a time. Their boss came up with a suggestion that they should split into teams of 4 and then determine who will go first. But since only 9 of the group members were present at the time, he was left out and therefore wouldn't be able to play, which made him sad. The 2 groups decided to have a battle of will to decide what group gets to play first. The leader was crouched up in the corner, feeling depressed because he wanted to play so badly. He had the idea of forming his own group of 4 with their captives. Kenji didn't want to get involved and told him to resolve the issue with his underlings, so the boss picked up the game and broke it in half and cried, saying that they allowed some stupid game to get in between them. They all got emotional and cried like babies. Bear in mind, all these people are teenagers, including this follically challenged youth. As they made up, Kenji snapped the ropes tying him to the pole and flew headfirst into the boss and took him down. He doesn't know why he did that, but I guess it was because the guy broke the game. The others began to attack him, but his club members came to his rescue. The girls were looking to throw hands, but the boss of the band of 14 devils didn't want to hit girls. One of his group members told him that if they win this fight, then the school will belong to them because they have to do whatever it takes to rise to the top. The battle began, and the crazy Chitose took out a few of them with a door. While they were fighting, Takao was busy freeing Kenji out of his ropes. 2 of the thugs thought about going to the weakest one first, so they attacked Roka, but she zoned out and put them both in a bag before making her way to the boss. Kenji had to snap her out of her craze after the boss had given up and admitted defeat out of fear. He recognized her as the one they call Ultimate Darkness. It turns out that she's the real shot caller and the underground boss of the school, meaning that she is the most powerful student in school. Kenji became sad after hearing this and wished he was in her position. Roka tried to clear up her name, saying it is not what he thinks, because she doesn't care about the power. As that was going on, the boss of the thugs saw an opening and planned to take her down, which would make him the ultimate authority in the school. He picked up a box and went in for the attack, but Kenji stood in the way and blocked it before punching the guy. Now that he was saved, she proposed that they play that lewd game, but Kenji didn't want to get involved. For some reason, they had forgotten to save Kenji's friends who were still trapped as captives. As a thank you for saving him, they made him play the not safe for work board game, but he was hating on it, so Chitose attacked him for being disrespectful. The beating paused when they noticed Takao in the room and wanted to know what she was doing there, even though she wasn't part of their club. She said she was there to make sure they were doing the correct thing. Kenji saw this as an opportunity to ditch the game since it needed 4 players, so his objective was to convince Takao to play in his place. He managed to get her on board by promising to do her a favor, which she agreed to, but unfortunately for him, the game now allowed more than 4 players, so he still had to play, which put him in a terrible position, because he now had to play the game and still owed Takao a favor. The 2 of them had to pick characters, and neither of them wanted to be the weird perverted one, so they fought to get the normal avatar. Roka saw the fighting and decided to wager her player on a game of rock, paper, scissors to decide who gets what character. When Roka realized that she was about to lose, she created more rules which elongated the duel. It never came to an end, so she called it quits and kept her card before ending the meeting. So ultimately, Kenji never got to play the board game. Later in class, people started talking about how Kenji and his gang beat up the devils, which made him happy, but he became angry when rumors started to spread, saying that he was under the wing of Roka. Soon after, Roka and Chitose came into his class to have lunch with him, which only gave weight to the rumors. He refused to eat with them, so Chitose revealed that Kenji's sister is the one who makes his lunch. As he tried to defend himself from this accusation, the rest of the class began to eat his food. Roka offered to give him her lunch so that he can eat it before his next class. Chitose was surprised that a delinquent would attend classes. Kenji explained that he only liked the lesson because of the teacher who had saved him and his friends when they were kids. They were once stuck on a roof of a burning building, and the teacher came to their rescue. And although young Kenji didn't want his help, the teacher told him that the kid owed him nothing. The man informed him that as a favor for saving him and his friends, Kenji should try and help anyone who was in need. So ever since that day, he looked up to the man. After hearing that story, all the other kids started to cry from how heartwarming it was. By the end of the flashback, they had completely eaten his food entirely. By the time he realized, lunchtime was over and he didn't get to eat. A girl named Funabori, who had witnessed everything, offered him her lunch just as the teacher came in. This was the same teacher who saved Kenji, so when he saw that the boy was about to eat, he left the room to give him a chance to enjoy his meal. After seeing this, the students couldn't believe how cool the teacher was. The day came to a close, and as Kenji made his way home, Takao offered him a sandwich he bought from the cafeteria, thinking he didn't eat for the day. I don't know about you guys, but I think she probably likes him. One day as Kenji made his way down the corridor, Roka ran into him asking him to protect her from her nemesis. The person she was referring to was another member of her club named Sue. He had been absent from school for a while, and his family are extremely rich. Because of this and his somewhat average looks, majority of the girls in school wanted his attention. However, he only had eyes for one person, and that was Roka. He soon arrived at Kenji's location and moved him out of the way thinking she was behind him, but she had already run away, but she turned back to attack Kenji for not protecting her. Funabori explained everything to Kenji while Roka was being pursued by the weirdo. When Sue heard that Kenji was also part of the gaming club, he introduced himself and told the delinquent that he had known Roka ever since the first year. He relayed the story of how they first met and how infatuated he became by her when she bagged him. This guy and Ataru are on the same level of creepy. He revealed that ever since that day, he has kept the bag as a prized possession, even though it looks messed up now. Sue became a bit jealous when he learned that Kenji was also bagged by his crush, but instead of seeing him as a threat, he saw him as cute and declared that the 3 of them were in a love triangle. But Kenji hated this idea of being involved in such nonsense and pushed them away, which resulted in Roka's head slamming against the wall. She became extremely angry and bagged him for the second time before going on her way. Sue became infatuated and begged Kenji to allow him to also join in the bagging, so he forced his head inside. Later that day, Roka and Sue were playing a pushing game in the club room, which Kenji found interesting. After Roka won for the 80th time, Sue challenged Kenji for the bag Roka had put over his head. Although Kenji wasn't interested in the bag, he loved competition, so he accepted just to beat Sue. He was looking for the bag but couldn't find it. Turns out that Funabori saw it on the floor and decided to wash it before returning it to him. Now that they had the trophy, the battle could begin, but Roka didn't like the idea that they were about to fight for her property, so she decided to join in the competition too. Kenji saw this as the perfect opportunity to prove himself and beat Roka in a competition since he cannot hit girls. Chitose saw that this whole thing could be fun for her, so she suggested that they open up the competition to allow more people to enter. Takao overheard and barged in to show her interest. Not long after, a whole stage was set, and we learned that 48 people had entered the competition. When the prize was revealed, the competitors were underwhelmed by what it was, but when they heard that Funabori, the perfect student, had washed it, they went crazy and felt motivated to win. The first game was a pushing match where they had to shove each other off the mat. The game began and Takao was on the verge of being pushed over, but Kenji came to her rescue and kicked the guy off. Takao thanked him by shoving him down because she hated the idea of him winning the bag. Just as she was about to confess her feelings for him, she had a wardrobe malfunction which resulted in her zip knocking Kenji out. She tried to revive him, but he was long gone. The whistle was blown and those who were still on the mat had progressed to the next stage. Kenji finally regained consciousness and demanded to know where he was. He found Sue clutching onto his hand on some weird behavior and told the guy to let go. But Sue had that sleeper build, so Kenji failed to yank his hand away. He was reminded by Funabori that he was knocked out by Takao's zip jacket. She, along with Takao, helped patch him up, so he thanked her for looking after him. Kenji still didn't understand why the guy was holding his hand, but he came to learn that he had progressed through the semifinals because the remaining contestant thought it best to allow him to advance up until he regained consciousness, since him being knocked out wasn't his fault. Given that he revived in this round, the battle to reach the finals was a thumb war, while the other semi-finalist played musical chairs. He looked over and saw that the other two contestants fighting for a place in the finals were Roka and Takao. They had turned what should have been a somewhat peaceful game into a full-on brawl. They completely ignored the chair and began attacking each other by clashing heads, which probably lost them a few brain cells. While the girls were fighting hard, the boys were also battling it out in the thumb war, but no one was even watching Kenji's match. Funabori asked him who he would want to face in the finals if he won. The girls heard the question, and he told her that he didn't care because he only wanted to go up against the strongest. Roka became mad by his answer because he said earlier that he wanted the showdown to be between him and her. She got more angry when she remembered that he doesn't care about her bag. Dark energy began to emanate from her, which scared everyone. Chitose, who was the commentator, told Takao to run if she valued her life. Takao refused to back down, and they both dashed towards each other. But Roka decided that she was going to play the game properly and just jumped on the chair, which made her the victor. Everyone was pissed that the ending was so anticlimactic after such an exciting battle. They even called Takao a cheater. While they were distracted by their match, Kenji took this opportunity to win his battle against Sue, whose attention was also caught by the girls' duel. It was now time for the final match, and the game they were to play was the King's Game. The two finalists faced each other, and the tension was so much that a father and his son from afar could see the dark aura coming from the field. The game was simple. Both players had to choose one out of two popsicles from a container, and whoever chose the stick with the king symbol on it won. So this game was down to luck. Kenji prepared by cracking his knuckles while Roka was making a rice ball to eat before the game began. Roka accidentally dropped an item, and it turned out to be a rare prize she won when she bought chocolate on a whim, meaning that she had incredible luck. So Kenji also revealed that he too has some good luck, because one time he found 10,000 yen on the street, but he reported it to the police as a good example for his little sister. They both reached out for the sticks, and Roka wished him luck and asked him what he was going to do with the bag were he to win. He answered her and told her that he would keep it safe and treat it like a trophy, which made Roka happy. But Takao, who was in the stands watching, was a bit jealous by his answer. Kenji didn't just want the game to be one of luck, so he forced both sticks to break, which flung them into the air. He informed Roka that whoever could catch the king would be the winner. The game suddenly became exciting. Roka attempted to bag him, but he dodged and leaped into the air and grabbed both broken popsicles to claim victory. It was good that he pulled that stunt because he realized that Roka would have won when she threw the other half of her stick to him, and it matched perfectly with the broken end of the king. Sue came over to congratulate his romantic rival and told him that he had won for now because this isn't the end of their competition for the bag. They both had their heads inside simultaneously. Kenji still didn't want any part in any of this rivalry, but Sue was too stubborn and socially challenged. Not long after the competition had ended, Kenji and Takao were called in by the teachers to discuss the zipper incident. It had raised some concerns amongst the teachers who thought the tracksuits were unfit and unsafe for students to wear. Kenji protested and said that they are being a bit too dramatic because this was an isolated incident which happened because Takao's top was too tight for her. Teacher Usala informed him that ever since that day, other students had been trying to replicate what happened, so it wasn't an isolated incident. It looks like the accident had caught on faster than a TikTok trend. Two of the students who attempted it were also present in the meeting and said that they did it because it was fun. But when Kenji pressed them on how it felt, they both began to cry, with one of them saying that it hurt, whilst the other said he got grounded by his mother for ruining his tracksuit. They realized how dumb they were being and began to fight cartoon style. Usala continued to present even more cases which filled more than a dozen pages. Kenji asked her what her opinion on the tracksuit was since she wears them all the time, so she told them the story of how she began wearing them. When she started teaching, she always found that her clothes would rip apart after the journey she took to school. There was one student who felt sorry for her goofy ass that she gave Usala her tracksuit after graduating. So her tracksuit was basically a hand-me-down, and the student wasn't even her sibling. Ever since then, she always wore it, and the tracksuit is still intact without any damage. Her story had their eyes flowing with uncontrollable tears. Based on this fact of events, the meeting was closed with the decision that nothing needed to change. Takao took the chance to apologize to Kenji in the corridor for putting him through all of this. He told her not to sweat it and said goodbye. She stopped him and asked him out on a date as a show of gratitude for standing up for her. He agreed to go out with her on Sunday so that she could treat him. When the day arrived, they found themselves waiting in a ridiculously long line for a game release Takao had been waiting for. She completely forgot about it and booked Kenji in for the date, so they had to line up for it. He told her that she should have called him to tell him so that they could rearrange. He got up to leave and told her to buy him lunch at school instead, but she reminded him that he owed her a favor. Therefore, she wanted him to stay with her until the game comes out. Kenji had no choice but to comply. He asked about the game and she cheerfully told him everything about it, including the history which he reluctantly listened to. It made sense to him why she was so excited, because she was part of the game creation club after all. Kenji looked down the queue and saw that the first in line was in a tent that looked familiar. He knew 100% that that person was Roka. He was proven right when she came out of it. Takao began to freak out when she spotted them, because she knew Roka would be mad if she saw Kenji with her. By the time Roka had made her way over to them, Kenji borrowed the costume from the person next to them and tried to pretend to be someone else when Roka recognized him. She knew right away that it was him, so his stupid disguise did not work at all. She was surprised to see him there and could tell that something was off. She refused to move from that spot until he cast a spell from the character he is dressed up as. All this while, Takao was hiding in the same costume behind him. The man next to him decided to help him out and stood up telling Kenji to also stand up, but he was afraid that they will be exposed since the robe is too short. But as he stood up, she jumped onto his back, allowing them to keep their disguise. They all cast the spell, and Roka was impressed that he was able to do it. She wanted him to do another one, but he refused and told her to go back to her place in line. But before she did so, she asked him about how he was treating her bag, so when he told her that he just leaves it in his briefcase, she was delighted to hear. Takao was a bit hurt after Roka's reaction to Kenji's answer and run away saying she wasn't feeling well. She found a corner and began being emotional over something so small. She soon realized that she was being pathetic and shouldn't have left him like that. Kenji showed up out of nowhere with the game because the people allowed him to cut the line so that he could chase after her. She apologized for all the trouble, and the two of them went for a meal as promised. But when they finished eating, she remembered that she is broke after paying for the game, so she had no money for the food. Back in school, Sue had joined Kenji and his gang outside for lunch. While they ate, Sue recalled Roka telling him that Kenji was keeping her bag in his suitcase. Sue didn't see it with him and got mad that Kenji had left the precious item unattended for. He decided that he was going to take the briefcase and take a whiff. When Ataru heard about this, he too wanted to stick his head inside the case for a sniff. They all raced to the classroom, and Kenji made it there first to block them from entering. He saw Funabori sitting there and told her to protect his bag with her pathetic life. She thought hard about it after being surrounded by them and decided that the best action was to put her head inside. When the two weirdos saw what she did, they admitted defeat and left the room. Later that day, Kenji's sister went over to his club to see what is it that he became a member of. Chitose opened the door furiously because she felt eyes looking into their room. But she calmed down when she realized that it was just a kid. They brought her inside and started being nice to her. They thought she looked familiar but couldn't put their hand on what it was. It wasn't after they touched her spiky hair that they knew she was Noe, Kenji's sister. Takao was upset that he didn't inform her that he had a sister. Roka saw an opportunity to get one up on her and informed Takao that she already knew about Noe from Kenji. The sister soon learned that these girls were crazy and was thinking of a way to escape. Takao's phone began to ring, so when she picked up the call, Roka saw that she had the limited edition keychain from the game that was only available at the store she was camping outside of. She asked her how she got a hold of it since Takao was nowhere to be seen that day. When Roka said that she only saw Kenji there, his sister said that it was impossible because her brother would never be caught dead in such a location, dressed up as a game character. Takao had to think hard about an excuse as to why she had the keychain. She told them that since Kenji owed her a favor, she ordered him to wait in line for the game. Noe was freaked out by Takao because she knows her brother wasn't a pushover, so she didn't understand how this girl got him to do all of that. In her hysteria, she accidentally grabbed Takao and was pushed into the bookshelf by Takao out of reflex, which made the girl run away crying for her big bro. At the close of the day, she walked home with her brother and informed him that she visited his club, but he didn't know about the details. The next day came, and Takao ran into the girl again who was taking lunch to her brother. They both apologized for what happened, and Noe was completely terrified and freaked out by Takao's strange behavior. She proposed to take her out for food to make up for it, but Noe could sense that she had ulterior motives. Takao suggested that she will take his lunch to him since her class is next to his, but the sister thought that she would do something weird to his lunch and started crying. Roka noticed what was going on and came to her rescue. Noe felt more comfortable with Roka taking Kenji's food to him, but Takao wasn't going to allow it to happen, so they fought over the food, which ended up spilling over due to an accident. Now that Kenji had no food, both Roka and Takao offered to give up their lunch for him. They all went to present him with the food and quickly run away after handing it over, but he wasn't happy with his sister hanging out with those creeps. Later on, Roka came to collect her bento box. However, there was a strange person spying on him. Another day came around and Kenji was playing a card game with his club members. The loser had to buy refreshments for everyone, so as he made his way to purchase them, he was once again captured, but this time it was by the girl who was spying on him before. The Taru somehow caught wind of the abduction and went over to inform the club members. Takao and Roka began to panic, thinking how to save him, but Chitose had had enough of his propensity to getting snatched and wanted to just let him deal with it. But Ataru showed a text which indicated that Kenji wasn't at fault this time around. As soon as Chitose saw the message, she knew that the third-year student named Tama was responsible. She decided that it would be best if they made their way over to see her. Meanwhile, Kenji was tied up in one of the third-year classrooms like a sacrificial lamb. Tama introduced herself along with her team. She explained to Kenji that he only got captured to set a trap for his club members. She also mentioned that the 10,000 yen he found some time back was her missing item that her grandfather gifted to her. She thanked him for being so kind to hand it in. As that was going on, Chitose and the others were heading to the location. She explained that Tama and her team were former members of the student council, with Tama being the former president. Both these girls have had a fierce rivalry ever since they were kids, and the reason Chitose became the current president was to annoy Tama. Before she could finish her explanation, one of Tama's group members, nicknamed Barfi, arrived to halt them in a robot she was occupying. The girls tried to destroy it, but they failed. The guy operating the robot became annoyed by their attempt and activated a spinning move that they all evaded apart from Takao, who was too slow to react. As she also tried to dodge it, her phone with the limited edition keychain fell out of her pocket and was about to be crushed by the robot, but she found it within herself to stand in the way and pushed it with so much force it made the robot fall over. The rest of them couldn't believe it, and Barfi, who was inside, began to barf. The ladies finally made it to the classroom and stood before Tama, who had a crazy look in her eyes. Chitose didn't waste any time and attacked as a distraction for Roka to bag Tama, but because of her pigtails hairstyle, the bagging didn't work. This left Roka vulnerable to be captured. Tama finally disclosed the reason for all of this madness. She wanted Roka's club to be disbanded because Chitose was using her power as president to the club's favor, like how she used the members to build the games for the cultural festival. Kenji told her that she had no right in shutting down their club, so he proposed a competition between the two teams. If she wins, then the club will get shut down, but if they win, she has to cease all efforts in trying to destroy the club. The only catch is that Kenji's team will choose the game they have to play. Tama agreed and even added a bonus that if her team loses, she will donate the 10,000 yen to the club. Chitose was annoyed that Kenji made such a proposal on a whim like that, but he told her that this was the perfect opportunity to humiliate her rival, so she too was on board. Sue had to sit out for this one because Tama only had 4 members, including herself. They were struggling to come up with a game to play, so Takao invented one right on the spot. She explained that all participants will type a question on their phones. It would then be up to the opposing members to steal the other team's phones to answer the questions correctly. They will then send that answer to a referee, and if the answer is correct, the one whose phone was stolen would be eliminated. But if the answer is wrong, a penalty game would be played. The playing field includes the entire school. They all loved the idea, especially since it had the opportunity to throw fists. The referee began the game and gave them a 10-minute timer to find a place to plan their attack. Tama's team left, but Chitose only stopped her from going out because Roka had become fatigued from all that drama. Chitose told Kenji to take her to the nurse's office to recover while she deals with Tama. While making their way over for Roka to recover, they were stopped by the band of 14 devils who owed Tama a favor. Kenji couldn't do anything since he was carrying Roka and was also outnumbered, but luckily for him, his friends came in clutch with other students to make a way for him to go past. As the timer reached 0, the green-haired girl from Tama's team appeared out of nowhere to attack Kenji, but Sakura stepped in to block it. At the same time, Kenji received a phone call from Takao, who was watching Chitose's matchup. She called to inform them that Tama was going to win if they didn't come to help her. Sakura heard this and told Kenji to get moving because she will handle the green-haired girl. But as Kenji ran away, the male member from Tama's group stood in his way. He had no problem in dealing with Kenji, but he was weak against the girls because he was an otaku and felt like the girls' voices were perfect for anime. Roka planned on using this to their advantage. She felt a lot better and asked him to put her down. Their plan was that Kenji will use the big guy from the Gamer Creation Club to jump to the floor above. Takao had already called her club members to be available for this. Now that Kenji was gone, the battle became a 2-on-2. Roka wasted no time and bagged the boy within a blink of an eye and took his phone to answer the question correctly, which eliminated him. This left the green-haired girl to deal with Sakura and Roka. Meanwhile, Chitose was losing badly, and Kenji was being held up by some basketball players who wouldn't let him pass. At the teacher's room, Usawa had a bad feeling that something horrible was going on. A third-year counselor came in and informed her that there was a battle between his students and her Game Creation Club members. They made a bet on who would win, and even the teacher who saved Kenji joined in. He put a magical-looking skull relic on the line for Kenji's team to win. He wanted to get rid of it because it was useless to him. Legends had it that the skull relic led to a treasure, however. Since it was missing an eye, there was no way for him to find it. One of the staff heard the story and remembered that her grandmother gave her a necklace that looks like the missing eyepiece and told her that her family were guardians of a missing treasure, so she also put a bet on backing Tama's team. We get a flashback to how this rivalry between Chitose and Tama began. It all started when they were about 5 years old. Chitose had an elder sick sister who used to take her to a sandpit to play, but the girl didn't know how to make friends, which made her sister worried. As she built a heap of sand and presented it to her sister, Tama came in and destroyed it, which got the girl upset. Sister Chitose saw this as an opportunity for them to be friends, but after she realized how rude Tama was, she told her little sister that maybe being alone wasn't so bad. Roka arrived and asked if she could play in the sandbox with Chitose. They instantly hit it off and began building a sandcastle. Tama didn't like what she was seeing and decided to destroy it completely, so Roka took the bucket and put it over her head. Chitose contributed by making a hole to trap Tama inside, and from that day going forward, they became enemies, and Tama promised to stand in their way forever. After that story, Kenji finally made it to Chitose's side, and she used him as a shield to fend off Tama's attacks. He was beaten so badly that one attack almost took him out, but Takao stopped him from falling. Although she was always at their neck, she didn't want to see his club get shut down. She admitted that she will always root for him in anything he wants to achieve and encouraged him to do what he needs to do to save his club. All the while, Sakura won her battle against the green-haired girl who was impressed with her skills, so she allowed her junior to take the victory. The fight between Tama and Chitose was still ongoing, and Kenji was acting as a great shield. This gave Chitose an opening to throw mud into the face of Tama, allowing Kenji to close the gap. However, he didn't reach for the phone, but he instead undid her pigtails, which created an opportunity for Roka to bag her, and for Chitose to take the phone to answer the easy question. They thought they had won, but was forgetting about Barf Girl who arrived late. They overwhelmed her and took victory of the competition, which saved their club. Some days passed and Tama was a regular at their club. Roka asked her to just join their club already and stop pretending to hate them. Usawa arrived and informed them that the faculty heard about their little battle, so she alerted them that they all got suspended for 1 week. Now that the competition had come to an end, the teachers gathered to fulfill the bet. Usawa was given the magical skull, and while she ate with the teacher who had the missing piece to it, she stuffed food into the hole since it looked like a perfect fit. It suddenly began to glow bright white and engulfed the two ladies, bringing the season to an end.